Today, we're digging into 2 decades of a company's history, using nothing but their own reports to see how an industrial giant like Indocement navigated some massive shifts in Indonesia's economy and really the world. So, what can we learn from their story? Let's jump in.
Everything you see here, it all starts with cement. And for decades in Indonesia, that has pretty much meant Indocement. This is a company that is literally at the foundation of the nation's development. They provide the essential material that helps it grow.
And that's the real question here, isn't it? How does a company like this not only survive, but actually thrive through all that chaos? Well, to find out, we're going to follow their journey through some major challenges and the seriously strategic moves they made to turn crisis into opportunity.
To really understand how resilient they are, we've got to go back to the beginning.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1985, and Indocement is born from the merger of 6 different companies. Just 4 years later, boom, they're on the stock exchange. But the real game changer, that came in 2001, when a global leader, Heidelberg Cement Group, came in as a majority shareholder. That was a huge deal, bringing in a massive injection of international know-how and capital.
But even with a global powerhouse in your corner, you can't escape market realities. And pretty soon, a huge problem started brewing. Fuel prices went through the roof. This became a major threat to their profits, forcing them to get a lot more efficient or risk getting left behind.
And just when they were getting a handle on those energy costs, the entire world economy was suddenly put to the test.
2008 happened. As the global financial crisis hit, international demand for building materials just evaporated. Just look at this chart from their own report. The export market, which was a huge part of the strategy, dried up almost overnight. Volume plummeted from 3.8 million tons to 2.3 million. That is a massive, massive hole to fill.
So what did they do? Did they panic? Nope. Instead of chasing those disappearing foreign sales, Indocement turned inward. They made a huge bet on Indonesia's own growth, its own infrastructure, its own people building homes and businesses. It was a complete strategic pivot.
And this right here, this shows you just how incredibly well that bet paid off. While the world's economies were in total free fall, Indocement's net income soared by an unbelievable 78.1%. By focusing on home turf, they didn't just survive the storm, they totally thrived in it.
Okay, so they weathered the financial storm. But another, very different kind of global challenge was gathering: environmental responsibility. And Indocoments didn't see this as a problem. They saw it as an opportunity.
And what's really fascinating here is just how early they got on board with this stuff. They embraced this pretty complex UN-backed program, the Clean Development Mechanism. And this wasn't for show. It was about fundamentally changing how they operated to cut emissions and in return earn valuable carbon credits they could actually sell.
And this wasn't some one-off thing. They became the first cement company in all of Southeast Asia to get these carbon credits. They pioneered new kinds of cement to cut emissions, planted trees for biofuels on old mining land, and even figured out how to turn household trash into energy. These weren't just nice gestures. These were core business strategies to get more efficient, cut costs, and turn sustainability into a real competitive edge. So, the global threats are handled, the green strategy is working, but now a new battlefront opens up, right on their home turf. The Indonesian market was getting crowded, and that meant intense competition and price wars.
This created that classic business problem, right? How do you compete on price without cheapening your main premium brand? Well, Indocement's solution was this really clever 2-brand strategy. They kept Tiga Roda as their high-quality star player while launching Raja Wali, basically a fighting brand, to go head-to-head on price in certain regions. This let them fight back without hurting their main brand's reputation.
Now this chart might look simple, but it tells you something absolutely fundamental about the Indonesian market. Even in 2017, a whopping 75% of their sales came from bagged cement, not bulk deliveries to giant construction sites. This shows you how incredibly important individual home builders and small contractors are. Success meant reaching every single corner of that retail market.
To really solidify their position, they started looking beyond just making cement. They moved aggressively into ready-mix concrete for big projects, they bought up aggregate mines to control their own raw materials, and they even invested in shipping to manage their own distribution across thousands of islands. They were becoming a fully integrated, one-stop shop for construction.
So you bring all this together, decades of fighting fires, navigating crises, outsmarting competitors, and you get to this point, a moment where they could stop just reacting
and really redefine their entire mission for the future.
And this is the answer they came up with. Material to build our future. It's simple, but it's powerful. It's a commitment that connects what they make, an industrial product, directly to the big picture: sustainable development, greener buildings, and the needs of a modernizing country.
Their whole journey just shows this remarkable ability to pivot and adapt, whether it was a global crisis or a local price war. And it leaves us with this final question. Having proven they can handle the challenges of the past, how will this industrial giant transform itself to meet the even greater demands of the future?